Alright. Where do we begin with this?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, like, you probably watched my last video. Alicia and I, Alicia is like one of my besties and my roommate, you probably have seen her in other videos. We are huge fans of Linkin Park, to the extent that their music has saved our lives on multiple occasions. It's averted suicide attempts. It's spoken for us when we haven't had the ability to speak for ourselves, in a way. And we were greatly affected by the loss of Chester Bennington. Yesterday we were going to a concert, and we ended up having to pull over and stop, and all three of us, including Lacey, who's here in the room with us too, who's also another bestie and a roommate, we just broke down. We broke down. And now that we've had a day to think about all that's happened, we're still struggling a lot, and I don't think that struggle is going to end for quite a long time, because when you go through this kind of loss, even if it's somebody you've never met before, but somebody who's greatly impacted you, it takes a lot to heal from that. What were your feelings initially when...
I remember my first thoughts, honestly, was not again, because my ultimate idol is Michael Jackson, and when he passed away unexpectedly, it was the worst day of my life, and I was inconsolable, crying nonstop, and even to this day, 8 years later, I still cry on his death anniversary and mourn his loss, but also celebrate his life. And so when I heard the news about Chester taking his own life, that was my first thought, was not again, because besides Michael, Linkin Park was all I had, especially in high school. So Chester was that voice for me when I didn't understand depression, because I come from a family who doesn't really vocalize depression, and at least from my experiences, don't seem to understand depression. So that caused me to not understand depression very much. So when I dealt with that as a teenager, I feel like the lyrics from Linkin Park's songs, Chester's voice, the messages and everything really put into perspective what I was dealing with and made me understand what I was dealing with, if that makes any sense. So losing him honestly makes me feel kind of lost again, because he was that light for me.
He was that one last light for us when we needed it.
Yeah.
And like what I said in my last video, what pains us the most is thinking that maybe if we could have saved him like he saved us, perhaps he'd still be here.
That was one of my first thoughts, actually.
Yeah.
I just wish I could have saved him. Not to mention we were less than 3 weeks away from meeting him.
Yeah.
And my first instinct when I was going to see him was going to be thank you. Thank you for everything. Because I wanted him to understand how important he was. And I know a lot of fans who have met Chester. I can imagine you all had said something to him to that effect. And I just wish he could have really understood what he was to people. But more importantly, my heart just breaks for his wife and his children.
And the rest of the band.
I mean, with the way we're feeling, I can't even fathom what they're feeling, because they were with him and know him better than
experiencing anger, as I'm sure both of you have been experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of fans have been experiencing it too, because almost all of Linkin Park's discography speaks out about mental health and about speaking out, essentially, itself, the power to be able to tell that intimate level of information to other people. And of course the theme of One More Light is about survival and overcoming and finding that one last shred of hope to keep going. And part of me is really upset because we thought that One More Light meant that there was always hope, but Chester, in doing what he did, in a way, tells us as fans that there is no hope, because
it makes you believe that.
It makes you believe that sincerely. But deep down, I know that's not what he intended. And deep down, I can't be angry at him as much as I think I would like to be, because I've been on that edge before.
Mm-hmm.
I know how it feels to experience that mentality, and when you're going through that battle, you're not thinking straight.
No.
Not that I'm saying that what happened should have been expected, because how can one expect this type of thing? But I don't want to say that I don't understand maybe what he was thinking at that moment, in a way.
Right. I think, another part of me that is really angry with those who choose to ridicule the band for their turning soft and pop. And I know it really hurt Chester when, and I'm sure the rest of the band, but Chester was very outspoken about his feelings with One More Light. And it was rejected by a lot of people.
A lot of hybrid theory purists.
Right. Oh, I wish Linkin Park would just go back to hybrid theory.
They're flopping. They're failing.
They were only great during hybrid theory Meteora. Well, he was 41, along with the rest of the band. There comes a point in time when you stop screaming and you start to reflect instead and try to find that light and try to move on past that angst. And I blame a lot of you, honestly, for those of you who wanted him to continue screaming about angst and screaming about the darkness. Why would you want somebody to stay in that depression state of mind just for your entertainment? If you loved hybrid theory so much, why don't you just listen to it?
Yeah.
If you loved Meteor so much, just listen to it. Why do they have to carry on in that darkness? They wanted the light. They wanted empowerment. They wanted others to see the light. And guess what? Chester lost to the darkness that you all wanted him to be in.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but fuck all of you that wanted him to stay in that darkness, because now he lost. He lost to that darkness that he screamed about in hybrid theory.
I mean, in my mind, I'm just like, did anybody take a moment to consider that maybe the reason why One More Light exists is because he did fight and overcome all of that darkness?
He was trying to.
Or at least he made a valiant attempt to overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
But negativity and fame and, perhaps lingering depression did contribute to this. I mean, it's not possible for us to know completely because we weren't there. We don't know his exact mentality at the moment, but I do think it's extremely selfish of fans to have been acting the way they did. And now, all of a sudden, they're all like, One More Light is brilliant. One More Light is a masterpiece.
How can you call yourself a fan?
Like, that infuriates me beyond all reason. Yeah, maybe if you didn't like One More Light, if you weren't a huge fan of it, at least appreciate it. You could have appreciated it for what it was.
Or just don't say anything
right.
at all. If you don't like it, then move on. There's a lot of musicians and artists out there that I can tell you that I can't stand. That are in the top 40 for unknown reasons. But I don't go on their YouTube pages and their social media and tell them how awful they are.
Or how they're flopping, or how they'll never live up to what they used to be.
If you don't like it, just move on. Ignore it. Go waste your energy on something else instead of putting hate out there.
Maybe dedicate your energy to putting something positive out there.
Which is what Linkin Park is all about.
Because here's the thing, and this, I've spoke about this for the entire time that I've been on here on YouTube. You don't know the battles people are going through. The slightest word, the slightest insult, could send someone over the edge. Instead of putting negativity out there, take a moment and think about the words that you use and what impact they may have. And maybe change them into something more positive. Because instead of contributing to someone's mental health difficulties, you could be helping them overcome it.
Absolutely. And, you know, to kind of touch base back on fans and the whole music aspect of what we were talking about, I just find it funny how everyone's now in love with Linkin Park again.
What, didn't their sales, like, you read a statistic a few minutes ago, sales rose, like, what, 500 and some percent?
5,000.
5,000% since Chester passed away.
And that's just ridiculous, because if you were a fan and you actually appreciated that music, not only should you have already had that in your ownership, but that just shows that you're fake. Because now you care. Now you care to listen. Because now you're curious on what made him do that. Is there signs in his music?
People are mystified and romanticized by the fact that someone took their lives.
Yeah.
And it's a celebrity, so that makes it even more interesting.
Let me go pretend that I love Linkin Park, because I used to listen to them in high school. I loved them when they first came out. No, you only liked Crawling. That's probably the only song you know, besides In the End. And, what, One Step Closer? That's probably
closer,
all
yeah.
you know. Because you didn't care to keep listening. You didn't care to stay on the journey.
And what people don't realize is that we as fans should grow with the artist as well.
Absolutely.
That's why I felt that One More Light was beautiful, because
it was perfect.
It's saying to where I am in my own headspace.
If we all evolve the way we're supposed to, we all started in a hybrid theory stage, but we all should have ended in a One More Light stage.
Yeah. We're not in high school anymore.
No.
We're adults. Many of us are in our late 20s, early 30s.
So we
maybe
shouldn't
even
still
40s.
be talking about teen angst anymore, because we're not teenagers anymore.
Now the angst is different. It's middle-aged, late adult, early adult angst. But, and like, our goal in saying this is to not necessarily make people feel bad, but to draw out the truth, because it is the truth.
And to raise awareness as well.
Yes.
Because these things are what lead people who do suffer from depression into the state that Chester was in.
Yeah. Regardless if you liked the music or not, people like Chester are humans too. They have feelings too. Their thoughts matter, their lives matter, and the words that we throw around, they do see it.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
We affect each other. And we want people like you watching to understand that you may feel insignificant, but you're not. And a lot of us, and I know myself included, feels like, who's going to listen anyway?
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Probably just talking to a camera for no reason, and no one's even going to pay attention. But you never know who's going to click on this and take the time to listen. And if you are listening, you're not alone. If you are suffering from depression, anxiety, any kind of mental illness, please know that you're not alone. Because we've been there before.
And if you are other Linkin Park fans who are in the same headspace we are, devastated, know that we need to honor Chester by surviving.
Yes, please don't hurt yourself. That's not the answer.
Be that one more light for other people in your lives, and be that one more light for yourself.
It's our job to carry the message that Linkin Park sent out, because the other guys are still here, and we can't let them down. And I'm not saying that Chester let us all down, because he was in a space that none of us will understand except himself. But the other guys need us just as much as we need them. And I just want to say something really quick. Mike, Rob, Brad, Joe, and Phoenix, I love you guys unconditionally.
Love you very much.
And my heart is with you. My condolences are with you. And we're suffering just as much as you guys are. Because we loved Chester very, very much. He was my idol. Just like you guys are.
We're going to miss him.
Very much. What would you say is one of the songs that really affects you? Think back on a memory that really brought you to Linkin Park.
Well, I mean, I've listened to Linkin Park since the beginning, but the song that really stuck out to me was Iridescent.
Mm-hmm. It's a good song.
Because it's about taking all of that pain, empowering yourself, and letting that pain go by acknowledging it. And I fell in love with that song when I heard it, but I also fell in love with it because my friend Cindy did a cover of it, and it blew me away, and she helped me understand better the meaning of the song. What about you?
You're probably going to know what I'm going to say, but Breaking the Habit. That was the very first song that touched me. I mean, I'm sure you agree, but of course we all became fans because of Hybrid Theory. That was their debut album, so of course that was going to be the one that started it off. But the song that really solidified my spot in the fan base was Breaking the Habit. I just remember playing that song over and over and over again, and I think of my depression in a way as a habit, and I'm constantly trying to break it, and it really helped me get through a dark time that I was in. My past relationship, was very abusive, very toxic, and I say abusive verbally, mentally, somewhat physically, but I'm not really going to go into that very much right now, but that song was actually the reason why I chose to walk away from that relationship. And, it was one of the songs that when I first came out as gay as well, I was depressed, I was suicidal, I wanted the pain to go away. Thought if I hurt myself, it would go away. And just when I heard Chester singing that song, those lyrics just stab right through me. And it was in that moment that Linkin Park was my band. They were that for me. They were my saviors. So that song will always be my favorite.
You, Lacey?
Gotta go with Iridescent. I've been a fan since Hybrid Theory, of course. I remember purchasing that album and being totally happy that I got it. Remember seeing them on MTV before school, my freshman year of high school. And I just remembered, wow, that guy can scream. He's got a fucking voice, man. But the song that really touched me, all of their albums are great. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, Hybrid Theory, oh, Meteora, blah, blah, blah. No, I love all their albums. But Iridescent's a good one.
It's one of their best.
Yeah. And I had the same reaction to most of the songs on One More Light as I did to Iridescent. And, I know I've gone on and on about the song Sharp Edges. That song speaks volumes to me about surviving and having that battle and understanding the consequences but still making mistakes. But we keep learning how to live.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have depression or mental illness, every day is a journey of reminding yourself how to live. But talking about our mental illnesses is what helps us keep living.
Absolutely.
Drawing awareness to it, because our culture believes that it's not important, but it is.
It doesn't exist.
And I feel like Chester, in a way, is a victim of our culture's very closed mindset on mental illness.
Absolutely. People think it's a joke. People think you're just sad. Get over it. Man up. Stop crying. What they don't realize is that we're not crying to cry. Some of us don't even cry from depression. Some of us rage.
Some of us don't feel anything.
Some of us shut down.
Some of us still smile.
Some of us pretend that everything's okay when it's not. So, I know for me, for the album One More Light, my go-to song is Battle Symphony. That one tells me to carry on. That one tells me to pick myself back up. When you start breaking, just fuse it back together. Which is funny because I have an Adam Lambert tattoo that says, before you break, you have to shed your armor. And then I have Chester telling me, if your armor breaks, just fuse it back together. So I guess I just have armor. I'm made of armor. And so are you. We all are. We just have to learn how to carry on, I guess.
We have to help each other fuse our armor back together. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us. This is probably one of the most difficult videos I've ever made, and I know in the few videos you guys have been in my channel, it's probably the most difficult for you, but these are truths that needed to be said.
We'll miss you, Chester.
We will.
Wherever you are, I hope you found peace. I hope you found what you were looking for, and I hope that you're not hurting anymore. And if you are listening, we love you very much. And I just ask for one thing. Just watch over us.
And we don't resent you.
Not at all. I'll leave out all the rest just for you.
And I'll keep you in your memory.
And if you're ever having a moment where you are at that edge, like Chester was, remind yourselves of all the reasons why you've held on this long. Anyway.
There's always someone that's willing to listen. And if you do need some kind of comfort music, let's give out some of our favorites. How about that? Let's uplift ourselves. So besides Sharp Edges and Battle Symphony, which is from their most recent album, One More Light, which you guys need to listen to it if you haven't already. Jump on the bandwagon, everyone else is doing it, so go ahead.
Right.
We'll let that one slide. Okay, just for that album though. Raise those sales. I think we already talked about Iridescent, Breaking the Habit. We didn't talk about Waiting for the End though. The hardest part in ending is starting again. Yes. That lyric always gets to me every time. That's why I have to sing it really loud every time Mike raps that verse. Take a listen to that song. It's off the 1,000 Suns album. If you haven't listened to that one, don't even get me started. You're just a stupid fucking cunt.
Just listen to that song.
Another one that is very comforting is The Messenger.
Yes.
Chester actually wrote that for his children. That one's also off 1,000 Suns. Just listen to 1,000 Suns. We didn't talk about Lost in the Echo from Living Things.
Lost in the Echo. That song always resonated with me. Because I've very much felt that sense of loss before being lost. The song Burning in the Skies for me is very powerful. It's about...
Oh, what album's that from?
I don't know, do you guys know?
1,000 Suns.
1,000 Suns had an amazing set of songs, for sure. But that song always resonated with me, and it talks about loss as well, but the sound of the song suggests that you gain something in acknowledging that loss. Numb, for me, was...
Numb.
Like, that song, while it's one of their most popular ones, describes my depression completely.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's a good one to listen to if you're trying to resonate with something similar.
If you need to find comfort in, personally, Chester's death, listen to Leave Out All the Rest.
Oh, yes.
It makes it almost feels like he's singing straight to you. and he's comforting you personally. I listened to that one on my headphones really loud, and it felt like he was there. So leave out all the rest for sure.
Truthfully, all of these songs, I really believe, are a reflection of his own battles that he went through. What better way can we resolve our own battles than by listening to other people's stories and experiences through this music? So, if you are struggling like we are, you're not alone, for one. Two, the music is the medicine. Listen to it.
Listen to it. Don't abandon it. I know it's hard. You're gonna cry.
You will.
But it's okay. And if they comforted you as much as they comforted me, you need that. And the comfort is on a completely different level now. Don't abandon the music, because the messages are there and they're still relevant. Very much relevant.
We really appreciate you guys listening. And you're not alone in this. Love you guys.
Love you.
Love you. Always keep fighting, guys.
And always keep listening to Linkin Park.